Start with why. Simon Sinek. Have you ever wondered why some people can inspire crowds and transform the world, while others, even with money and resources, remain average leaders? Today, you will experience a transformative listening journey. Based on the bestseller Start with Why by Simon Sinek, which presents one of the most powerful concepts in modern leadership, the Golden Circle. Here, you will discover how to find your purpose and inspire people in a genuine way, building true trust and motivation, not just momentary obedience. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like because this optimized content will accelerate your personal and professional growth. Simon Sinek became known worldwide after his TED Talk went viral, teaching that extraordinary leaders and organizations think, act, and communicate completely differently. The foundation of his work is the discovery that people don't buy what you do, but why you do it. This simple change of perspective transforms the way we relate, sell, manage, and inspire. He explains that for years, he believed success came from better products, better prices, or more aggressive marketing strategies. But by observing iconic companies like Apple and great social movements like Martin Luther King's speech, he saw a pattern. They all communicated their why, their purpose first, then the how and the what. This way of communicating resonates directly with the emotional brain, creating a bond of trust much stronger than purely rational arguments. Sinek highlights that most people and companies try to convince using logical information, price, quality, features that can work in the short term but rarely creates loyalty. When you communicate a clear purpose, however, you connect with the limbic system of the human brain, the part responsible for emotions and behaviors, which deeply influences our decisions even without our conscious awareness. In the book, Simon explains that inspiring is not manipulating. Manipulation is about discounts, flash sales, using fear or pressure to convince. These strategies can bring immediate results, but they do not build lasting relationships. Inspiration, on the other hand, connects values, dreams, and a vision of the future. That is what makes people follow leaders, even in the face of risks, difficulties, or uncertainties. A powerful example mentioned right at the start of the book is Martin Luther King's speech. He didn't say, "I have a detailed plan," but rather, "I have a dream." That phrase touched people's hearts because it translated a deep why, a transformative purpose that everyone could share and feel was true. Simon argues that any person or organization, no matter the size or industry, can learn to communicate their purpose clearly, authentically, and inspiringly. And this is the foundation for sustainable long-term results, whether in sales or in a team's internal culture. To begin exploring this idea, he proposes that each of us reflect on some of the most important questions. Why do I do what I do? What truly motivates me? What do I want to change in the world with my actions? These questions seem simple, but are deeply transformative as they force us to get off autopilot and rescue what really moves us. Throughout the book, Sinek shows how these answers can be applied practically, whether in personal life or business. Optimized insights from this section: people don't buy what you do, but why you do it purpose speaks to the limbic system. Creating emotional connection inspiring is much more powerful than manipulating the golden circle always starts with why. Asking what motivates you is the first step to better leadership. Now reflect. Do you know your own why? Have you ever stopped to think about the real impact you want to create in the world? This reflection could be the beginning of a profound transformation in how you work, lead, and relate. And if you haven't yet subscribed or left your like, this is the moment, because in the next part, we will dive into the traps of manipulation and why they do not build true trust. Now that you understand the importance of discovering and communicating your why, let's dive into a crucial point that Simon Sinek addresses in Start with Why: the difference between manipulation and inspiration. This topic is so relevant because, often without realizing it, we end up using manipulation techniques to convince people, whether in sales, at work, or even in personal relationships. Simon argues that manipulation is tempting because it works. In the short term, you offer discounts, flash sales, bonuses. Create artificial scarcity only today, last units, or even appeal to fear, saying that if the person doesn't buy or doesn't follow a certain path, they will lose something important. These strategies activate our survival instinct and generate immediate action, but at a high cost to trust. The problem is that, over time, people realize these tactics lack consistency and end up feeling deceived or pressured. This destroys any chance of true loyalty. The customer might buy once, but won't return. The employee might obey, but won't feel genuinely motivated. Sinek shows that companies relying only on manipulation are stuck in an endless cycle of chasing sales or motivation. They always need to create a new stimulus because there is no genuine emotional bond with their audience. It's like running after the next promotion to keep people interested, but never building something solid. Inspiration, on the other hand, is much more powerful and sustainable. To inspire means to invite people to believe in the same purpose you do. It means communicating a vision of the future, clear values, and bigger causes that go beyond immediate profit. This type of message goes directly to the limbic system, generating true and lasting motivation. Simon cites examples like Apple campaigns, which don't just talk about computers or phones, but about challenging the status quo, thinking differently, and empowering people to change the world. Many Apple customers don't just choose the product, but the feeling of belonging to that cause. Another inspiring example he brings is Martin Luther King's movement. He didn't mobilize millions of people through rewards or threats, but by sharing his dream of equality and justice. It was the emotional power of the why that moved hearts and inspired people to act, even in risky situations. Sinek insists that inspiring doesn't mean being naive or soft. It is, in fact, a much more effective strategic choice to generate loyalty, commitment, and consistent results. While manipulation may spark immediate action, inspiration creates repeated action, trust, and even voluntary defense of your cause by those around you. He invites all of us to analyze our behavior. Are we trying to manipulate to convince, or are we truly inspiring with our purpose? This reflection is valuable for leaders, parents, teachers, entrepreneurs, or anyone who wants to influence others in a positive way. Optimized insights from this section. Manipulation generates immediate results, but destroys trust. Inspiration builds true and lasting loyalty. The limbic system responds better to causes and purpose. Leaders and companies that inspire build communities, not just clients. Inspiring is a far more powerful strategy than manipulating. Now think. In your projects, at work, or even in your family, are you inspiring or manipulating? How could you start communicating your purpose better to generate real connection and trust? This shift might be the turning point for much greater and more sustainable results. Moving forward, let's explore the core of the entire method created by Simon Sinek in Start With Why, the famous Golden Circle. This is the essence of the book and helps us understand how to communicate ideas in a way that truly inspires people. The Golden Circle is divided into 3 concentric layers. At the center is the WHY, your purpose, your cause, your deepest belief. Then comes the HOW, your processes, differentiators, the unique way you deliver value, and on. The outer layer, the WHAT, the product or service you actually offer. Simon Sinek discovered that most people and organizations communicate from the outside in, meaning they start talking about what they do, then how they do it, and rarely get to why they do it. That is why so many messages fail to generate emotional connection. When we speak first about why, we directly reach the limbic system, responsible for emotions and intuitive decision-making. This explains, for example, why we often make decisions that don't make rational sense but feel right. The limbic system does not use language, but it processes values, purposes, and emotions. And when it aligns with what we hear from a leader or a brand, true loyalty is born. Sinek details in the book that how is also important because it describes the processes, values, and principles that make turning purpose into action possible. But he emphasizes that the what, the product or service itself, should be the last layer, since it alone cannot inspire. It can convince temporarily, but it does not build loyalty. A classic example Simon brings is Apple. Apple does not start by saying, "We make beautiful, easy-to-use computers," the what. They start by saying, "Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We think differently," the why. Then they explain how they do it, and only then do they present the product. This structure creates a much more powerful emotional narrative. Another important point of the golden circle is its relation to the brain. Research shows that the neocortex, the rational part, understands data and numbers, but the limbic system, responsible for emotions, is what actually decides. That is why inspiring communication must begin with the why, because that is where the true decision happens. Simon also cites leaders like Martin Luther King, who inspired millions not with a logistical plan, but with a dream, the deepest why. Just like the Wright brothers, who did not have big resources, but were passionately driven by the idea of flying, surpassing far richer and better equipped competitors. Optimized insights from this section, the golden circle always starts with the purpose, why the limbic system makes decisions and responds to purpose. The what alone does not inspire loyalty. Purpose inspires far more than technical features, strong leaders, and brands communicate. From the inside out, now pause and reflect. In your life or business, are you communicating from the outside in or from the inside out? Do you start with your products or with the dream that drives everything? This simple shift can transform your communication and your ability to inspire. Continuing this transformative listening experience about the power of purpose, let's dive into practical ways Simon Sinek suggests to discover your own why and communicate it authentically. After all, it's no use understanding the golden circle theoretically if you can't apply it in your daily life, whether at work or in your relationships. Sinek explains that discovering your why is not a marketing exercise or a catchy slogan. It is a deep investigation of what truly moves you, what makes you get out of bed every day, and the impact you want to make in the world. He says that the why is not invented, it is discovered because it already exists within us, tied to our experiences, values, and most authentic emotions. A practical way to find your why is to revisit meaningful moments in your life. Ask yourself, when did I feel most alive, energized, and happy? Which situations made me proud of my work or my attitudes? What kind of contribution did I make in those situations? Identifying patterns in these answers can reveal what truly inspires you. The author also suggests talking to close people, friends, family, colleagues, and asking what they see as your unique trait. Sometimes we only see the tip of the iceberg and don't recognize our essence as others see it. Another fundamental point is learning to communicate your purpose. Many people discover their why, but do not know how to express it. Simon teaches that communication must be clear, simple, and consistent. People need to feel you believe in what you say, and this happens through alignment between speech and action. There is no point in saying you value innovation if, in practice, you resist every new idea. He reinforces that a true purpose builds trust. And in today's world, trust is a much more powerful competitive advantage than technology or price. People buy trust. They follow trustworthy leaders. They defend brands that prove daily what they preach. A warning Simon highlights is the risk of falling into the trend trap. Nowadays, many businesses try to invent a why just because it sells. But the public notices when there is no truth, and trust breaks quickly. The why needs to be authentic, aligned with what the company truly does or what you truly do, not just a pretty marketing phrase. Optimized insights from this section. The why is discovered, not invented purpose, comes from your most meaningful life experiences. Communicating purpose requires clarity and consistency. Trust is worth more than any technical argument. Fake purposes destroy reputations. Quickly think now. Have you ever stopped to reflect on your most inspiring moments? What do they reveal about the impact you want to make in the world? This exercise can be the initial spark to honestly discover your why. As we approach the closing of this Start With Why book summary, let's reinforce the importance of trust and clarity, elements that sustain inspiring leadership over time. It is not enough to discover your why. You need to keep that flame alive day after day, building coherence between what you say and what you do. Simon explains that trust is the most precious link between leaders and followers. When there is trust, people feel safe to take risks, innovate, and contribute more authentically. But trust does not appear out of nowhere. It depends on clarity of purpose and consistency. The author shows that trustworthy organizations and leaders do not try to please everyone. They know who they are, what they stand for, and do not give up their values, even under external pressure. This consistent positioning conveys strength and generates respect. Another essential point is that the why must be communicated continuously. It is not enough to put the purpose on a website or a poster. It needs to be lived and shown in real decisions, meetings, campaigns, and every detail of the organizational culture. Consistent repetition imprints the message in people's minds and generates inspiration. Sinek warns about vague or generic purposes. They do not inspire anyone. The simpler and more truthful your why is, the greater its connection power. People connect with human stories, real emotions, and causes that make sense. He shares examples of companies that lost public trust after drifting away from their original purpose. These brands had to spend fortunes on marketing to try to recover their reputation, often without success. That is why maintaining clarity and consistency over time is not optional. It is vital. In a leadership context, remember that those who communicate a clear purpose attract people aligned with it, while those who only communicate goals and numbers attract people only interested in rewards. Teams formed by people aligned with the same why tend to be more loyal, creative, and resilient. Optimized insights from this section. Trust is built with coherence between words and actions. Clear purpose inspires more than men. Empty slogans. Clarity is the foundation of lasting relationships. Repeating the purpose strengthens team culture. Trustworthy leaders stand firm in their values now. Reflect in your career or business. Have you been coherent with the purpose you communicate? Do your actions reinforce your why, or do they send contradictory messages? This alignment may be the decisive factor in building a lasting legacy. Thank you for staying until the end of this Start With Why book summary. I hope these ideas help you lead better, inspire more, and live more aligned with what truly matters. And before you go, if you haven't yet subscribed or left your like, now is the time. This way, you ensure you keep receiving optimized summaries that will accelerate your personal and professional growth with clarity, practicality, and inspiration.